Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Lessons in Leadership. It is episode 23 today. I can't believe we've got onto our 23rd episode. My name's Mary Gregory, and I'm delighted to welcome you today and to welcome our very special guest, Elaine Bernstein. Hello, Elaine.
Hello, Mary. Thanks for having me on. That's what we're supposed to say, aren't we? Thank you.
It is so great to have you here. And, you know, my commitment in running these programs is to have leaders from all walks of life, because I believe we're all fundamentally leaders in our lives. So let's hear from leaders from all walks of life. And I'm really delighted to have you here today because, you know, you run your own fashion brand, your own fashion retail store online and on the high street. And I think it must have been an incredibly challenging year maintaining yourself and sustaining yourself through this pandemic. And now, fortunately, it's opening up again. And the high street, we hope, is going to be much more alive as we go forward. But I really, you know, I'm so pleased that you could make it here today. And I'm just very grateful that you're here with us.
Lovely. And I am really happy that I'm here with you too, Mary.
So, Elaine, we've known each other for quite a few years now. We met on a personal development program many years ago. I think it was Landmark, and but we've known each other way beyond that. And I just want to invite you to share, because when I knew you, you were running your fashions business, but very much from your back room on eBay. And now to see what you've established now, in that you have these pop-up boutiques. And in fact, I think you've got a place where have you got a permanent store yet, or do you still use the pop-up approach?
It's in and out. I had a permanent store in Highgate, and now we're doing a pop-up in Islington.
Oh, fabulous. So I'm intrigued to know, because I think I've missed out the bit from when you were in your back room running your eBay store to now being out there on the high street. Tell us a bit about that.
It's like 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll try and make it really quick. So as you know, I was selling clothes online on eBay. It was such hard work. I would manage to photograph, and then I had to crop, and eBay wasn't like it is now. It was much harder. They've made it. You can do it from your phone now. I don't think there were mobile phones then. No, I had a little camera, and it was just very slow. I would, if I could list 4 things online, I would a day, and it was relentless. Then I got a call from a lady who said, "I'm downsizing. Please come to my house in Hampstead." And I went to this amazing house that hadn't been touched for 30 years. And she started opening up these wardrobes of the most beautiful clothes from the 70s, all clothes and names that I recognized, because obviously my family had been in the fashion business. And I just was goggle-eyed, and I thought, this deserves something better than eBay. This deserves an exhibition. And I was working at the time in a comedy club, and this guy used to come, Matthew Adams, and he said, "Elaine, I run a vintage fair. If you like, you can have a bit on the stage and, try it." And I did this vintage fair, and I started, customers would swarm into the vintage fairs, and suddenly it was just, gosh, I don't have to find customers anymore. This is real life. So I started doing vintage clothes. You get the bug. So this woman's clothes, then other women's clothes, and I started buying, and then I became really a vintage clothes dealer. And that was for quite a few years, 10 years, I suppose. And then, because I'm little, I can fit 1940s dresses. 1940s dresses, they were small. They were all on, they had ration cards.
Yeah.
1 egg a week or something. Can you imagine? And I bought a couple of vintage of 1940s dresses, and people, the vintage community is just so gorgeous. And they, "Oh, Elaine, you look lovely," and I got a pattern cut, and we sort of tweaked this dress, and I took it to a vintage fair. And I remember the first order I got, I hadn't even worked out what I would charge. It was more a flutter. So I remember thinking, look, let me flutter £200. I'll get a pattern cut, we'll get a sample made, I'll get the fabric, and we'll see. Because whenever you sell vintage clothes, you know that it's a one-off, and once it's bought, you will never see that item again. So we're always tempted to recreate. And so I got the dress, I took it to the fair, and one of my customers, I was tidying a table or something, and I heard her say, "Oh my God, I love this dress. Oh my God, it would be great for dancing." And she tried it on, she said, "I want it." Then another customer came 2 minutes later and said, "I want it too." And I had 2 orders within the first 5 minutes, and it caused my heart to beat. I couldn't believe it. There's something wonderful about creating something yourself. And then like the affirmation that you've created something that somebody else wants.
Yes. So that gave you a tremendous buzz, but I also hear that you entered that whole experience with the spirit of just, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You didn't necessarily have a clear vision or anything in mind. It was just like, let's it's almost like you were playing.
Absolutely.
You just giving it a go. Let's give it a go, see what happens, take the risk.
You know, and I suppose, Mary, as a bit of a back thing, I had sold advertising space in large corporate publishing houses till I was 42. Right. And that had been a job, and it had been a job that it was fun, but it wasn't my passion. And I wasn't even proud that I was doing it anymore. So to then start doing something that you love, it does feel like fun.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like something that's being put on you.
Yes.
You've chosen it. And it's always been like a bit of an experimentation. And then, and I had a lovely lady making the dresses in her home, one by one. And it was always as though she was doing me a massive favor. Oh God, can you make one more? Oh God, I don't know. I've got my art class on Wednesday and my jewelry making class on Thursday. I mean, she was retired, really. And I thought the only way this is going to kick off, if it's going to, is I've got to get a factory. And I went to a trade fair. And because factories are reluctant they want a minimum order. They don't want the small ones. And I went to a trade fair, and I remember I had the sample in my bag because I knew that's what they need. And I went past this guy and I said, as though it was the secret, I said, "Do you do small ones?" And he said, "Yeah, we do." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Send me the sample." And I said, "Well, I've got it here. What would you charge?" And he told me on the spot what he would charge, which was just wonderful. So there was no emails and back and forth. And I said, "Right, I'll send you an order." And I sent an order. They made up the order. And it was just, I sort of knew that there was a chance to take it. It had then gone on to another level.
Yes.
And the factory was they could make 10 in a week if we wanted.
Yes.
And it suddenly opened something up, and it was so much easier dealing with a factory who were in business, not doing me a favor.
Yes, that is a fantastic story there. So, from just playing, experimenting, to actually getting into a going concern and having suppliers who are providing a service to you as well. So just amazing. I just want to acknowledge that we do have people watching today, which is great. So lovely to see everybody. If you want to make a comment or ask a question to Elaine, please feel free. We are on StreamYard, so you will need to make sure your name is changed. You put your name on there so we know who's speaking to us. But do feel free to make a comment or ask a question.
Otherwise, it's blind. It's like just me and Mary chatting.
Yeah, well, I'm quite happy with just chatting as well. Yeah. I think the other thing you mentioned is about the fun element of it. And I mean, I want to bring us a bit forward now, because you've had your store in Highgate. You've now got a pop-up store in Islington. To be a retailer on the high street must have been the biggest nightmare the last year. And, what I know about you, Elaine, is your enthusiasm and your energy has never failed you. So I'd like to just ask, how much fun has it been the last year for you?
I don't know. I just find all of it fun, really, even the closing. So any change forces you to think newly, I think.
Yes.
And I was pottering along in this shop in Highgate. There was a whole issue with the toilet. The shop, once it's separated, I didn't have my own key to the toilet, and it's really stopped working for me in the last couple of months. So I wasn't enjoying that anymore. And in a way, the lockdown allowed that change. And it just made me, it forces you to seek other options, because you have to. The only option of your shop is finished.
Yeah.
So you've got to then look elsewhere, but you're not alone looking elsewhere. Everyone else was suddenly, okay, what can we do?
Yeah.
And, a wonderful lady, Janine Newman, who runs her own vintage and sustainable fashion fairs. She does them in Stoke Newington, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And she was like, okay, we were just about to have a fair in April. What can we do? How can I serve these brands? We'll do a virtual one on Instagram. And now Instagram is full of virtual fairs, but it seems to work. And by that, I was able to learn about other brands. I also had gone to a party, an event last year run by a company called LDC, Loan Design.
Right.
They have brands. So they rent a space, you pay for the rail, that's what you do. So I just knew I had to get onto the high street. I had to do something. So I was with them in Covent Garden, which is pretty dead. I mean, it made me realise how the centre of London is just not a going concern anymore.
Yes.
But that got me to meet other brands.
Yes.
Then I saw someone who I knew in a shop in Crouch End, which is very near to where I live, as you know. And that shop was something, for the whole year, all I seem to have done is looked at high streets, empty shops, and taken photos of the estate agent's name above, because this is an empty location now. Let's fill it up with our stuff when we're allowed. So you become, I suppose, a bit of an opportunist, always looking for opportunities to then find a new space.
Yes.
And one in Crouch End, I knew her, and we filled it again with the brands that I knew. So that was Loan Design Club was August. The Crouch End shop was September and October. Then there was the lockdown, and in November I was able to then work on my new website, which was Shopify, which I knew I had to migrate to because WordPress had been really not good. Okay. So I did that for November, which was great. And meanwhile, I found this shop in Islington on Upper Street, and we took it for the whole of December. Great. I think the worst moment, you say, how did you manage to stay positive? In a way, first of all, everyone was in the same boat. It wasn't just like, oh, poor Elaine, her shops had to close, but everyone else is thriving. You knew you weren't the only one. So all in it together, having to find ways. You could hear about restaurants suddenly creating delivery services. You saw little shops selling coffee at their front door. Everyone was adapting, which was amazing. So it's not that I was the only one. But the worst time, in a way, the lowest moment of the whole shop's opening and closing was December the 19th, because we'd opened up in Upper Street. It was good. People were coming in, and that whole week, the week between the 19th and New Year's Eve, really, was the week that we were going to sell dresses for people to wear on Christmas Day, dresses for people to go out in on New Year's Eve. And suddenly, I remember 4:00 in the afternoon, Boris announces shut, and our shop was anyway going to close at 6 p.m. And I just thought, oh my God, that's it. Show's over.
Yeah. That was tier 4 when we went into tier 4.
Was it?
I think because we went into lockdown after Christmas, but we went into tier 4 just before Christmas, which kind of shut everything down. I mean, tier 4 was very much like lockdown, really.
Shops tier 4, and then remember, people couldn't be with their loved ones.
Yes, that's right. We all had to cancel our things.
there was a lovely Scottish lady who came into the shop on that Saturday afternoon. She spent a lot of money because she said it's the first time she's been to any shop for the whole of lockdown. She was going up to Scotland to see her parents. She hadn't seen them all year.
Wow.
She was going to be going up on Tuesday. She bought a jumpsuit for me. This is what I'll wear for one night, and this dress I'll wear for Christmas Day. She was so excited. And she left the shop, and I quickly turned on the laptop, and Boris was talking about the shop shutting, and my heart broke for her.
Yes.
I thought, you're not going to go up to Scotland on Tuesday.
Yes.
Wearing the dresses, that wasn't important, but it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah.
So sad.
It didn't happen for so many people. It has been an incredible year from that perspective, and people who've lost their loved ones as well and weren't even able to say goodbye and all those sorts of things. Just a really very upsetting year for so many of us.
And I think it's only when we're coming out of it that we're able to look back and really reckon on the level of sadness and sorrow.
Yes.
And loneliness. And it's when you're going through it, you're just going through it. But when you're able to look back, for me, I've been like, oh, what was all that?
Yes. Yes. So that you talk about that that was your darkest moment, when it was like the shop's got to shut and all our plans are just out the window at that point. What got you through that? I know part of it is knowing that you're not the only one. We're all in it together. I think that has definitely helped this year.
Yeah.
But what else got you through it?
The agent at the shop, we had our mannequins in the window still. And I put, for the first, up until January, it was all over. And I don't remember really what I did in that month.
You kept going.
But and then they found a full-time, someone was renting full-time, signed a 10-year lease, but he very kindly allowed me to keep the mannequins in the window. And we're talking about a window next door to Gale's Bakery, where, as we know, everyone is queuing.
Mm.
And my window became a window to close. And he said, you can keep the mannequins there until we get the contract signed. And funnily enough, today we're meeting at 1:30. I'm removing the mannequins and the new guys are moving in. Timing couldn't have been better, because then we open the new shop on Monday. And because of him and his generosity, and because I'd moved on to Shopify, which is so much easier to use, I was getting orders. So I was getting orders online with Shopify.
Yes.
And that was a boost. I've had a website for years, and I would maybe get, nothing. I just never got orders, one or two. Really nothing. And I had a really bad relationship with it. It was only when I realized, Elaine, your relationship with your website has got to transform. Because if you sort of have that about it, you're not going to get any sales. And with Shopify, honestly, I could be an advertisement for Shopify. I think what they've created is incredible. It's like a community. You get newsletters and look what this person's done, and it's wonderful.
So that's opened things up for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. So, you've walking and talking and demonstrating and role modeling just what it is to be a resilient leader and to maintain your enthusiasm and energy through some really tough times. One of the reasons I run this Facebook Live every week is I'm always curious about, what are those key moments that have shaped you as a leader. So I'm just wondering, you might have shared it already, but I'm just wondering what was a time when you actually, going through your life, it could have been starting your business, it could have been since your business has been going, but what was a time where you actually felt it was like a light bulb moment switched on for you? It's kind of, that's what it's all about, and it shaped you in some way, and it shows up in who you are today. I just wondered if you had a moment like that you could share with us, Elaine.
I think it was this. I did a leadership course at Landmark, as it happens, but I did a leadership course, and I remember the first day that we had the sort of, okay, guys, here's, this is what it's about. They wanted us, they said, your presentation, you want to have the presentation of a leader. And it turned my stomach, because I'd come from the corporate world. Remember in the 80s, the shoulder pads. And I couldn't bear the world of women strutting around. I mean, at the time, how it occurred was, you've got to be powerful, and that's how it's got to be. But I'd come from that 80s.
So you had a fixed view, did you? An almost fixed view of big. I remember big earrings as well. We always used to wear big earrings.
Everything was big, and tight skirts, and high skirting, and you had to walk powerfully, and it turned my stomach. So when she said, you've got to dress like a leader, I thought, oh, here we go again. And I spoke to the teacher afterwards, and I said, look, I've come from the corporate world. I do not want to dress like that. And I'm, my world at the moment is clothes and creativity, I think I said. And she said, you can create your own, what you want to wear, as long as it looks sort of professional, or as long as you're proud of what you look like, that's absolutely fine. So I created a lovely sort of what I thought was a feminine way of dressing, but still in a professional way. And then I thought, gosh, I can be a leader. It's not just that one corporate shoulder pads, big earrings, as you say. You mean I can still be a leader and wear feminine clothes? Yes. So I think it was almost giving me permission to be something that I had shunned because of the image that it was for me, if that doesn't make sense.
Something about embracing the feminine and the creative person that you are.
Mm.
And that's who you are authentically as a leader.
Yes. Almost it gave me permission to step into that way of being.
Yes.
Which hadn't seemed to be available prior to that, because of the notion that I had of what a leader had to be like.
Yes. Yeah. There's something there about, I think, in those olden days, I can't believe I'm referring to the 80s as olden days, but I am. But yeah, there was that kind of fixed view of things. And I just think about how we look at leadership these days as well, using that as a metaphor. Back in the day, it was, to be a leader, you have to be A, B, C. And actually today, to be a leader is about accessing who you are and your own personal power.
Yes.
And doing it that way, that's the way to be an authentic leader. And I think what you've just described there, your particular lesson, is a great metaphor of that it's not about having to put the suit on. It's about being the leader and wearing the clothes that represent you.
Yes.
And
a lot much easier to lead in that way.
Yes. So it's much more organic than having a fixed, this is how it is view of the world.
Yes, as long as I look like that, then I'm a leader. It's the other way around.
Yes, because you could look like that and be a rubbish leader, couldn't you, actually? You could have all the suits and the shoulder pads as you want, but you could still be a dreadful leader. It's about being yourself, and there's something about the passion and owning your own talents and your own strengths. All of that makes you a leader.
Like I thought of Ricky Gervais in The Office.
Oh, yes.
At the office, he could hire and fire. He put his feet on the desk, but he wasn't a leader.
No, he wasn't at all. No, it's very good. That's a very good example of it, really, using humor in that way.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's great. Thank you. Thanks, Elaine. And we're moving towards the end of our time together. Yeah. So another question I ask people.
Sorry,
yes. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing. When you said before, it's amazing that you've shown all this resilience, blah, 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 blah. It's almost like there is no other. The choice is either you keep going or you throw in the towel. So that's it. And if you don't want to throw in the towel, you have to keep going.
Yes.
So it's not.
I suppose what I wanted to try and highlight was, yes, there is a choice. There's always a choice. So you can throw in the towel and you can keep going. But there's something about how you kept going that I think is remarkable, because you could keep going and you could be kind of, oh God, I can't, this is just dreadful. I just have to keep going. You can be a victim to it,
right.
or what I see you've done is you've kind of really engaged with, it's kind of bring it on. It's like you've engaged with the challenge of it with such enthusiasm.
Yeah. Okay.
And to me, that's a great example of resourcefulness and leadership.
Okay.
Really.
Yes.
So, yeah.
No. Go on, your last 6 minutes.
Okay, so my last question is about, we've got 3 people watching right now. So do make comments if you'd like to in the final moments as Elaine is sharing. What I'd like you to share as our final sort of parting shot is, you've been through this incredible year. You're still here. You're about to open up another store. You're smiling. Your business is still going. What words of wisdom or what final parting words would you like to pass on to those people that are watching today or will be watching in catch up as well?
I think that's sort of the trusting that it will work out. Yeah, I mean, there was a painter who was supposed to be coming yesterday, and at 11 o'clock the night before, he texted me, "Sorry, Elaine, I can't make it." And a bit of me was like, what makes the other place and people more of an emergency than mine? And I took it really personally, which is so disempowering. And then I said to myself, okay, Elaine, this is a breakdown. That's all it is. It's a breakdown. You will find a way through. And of course, we found a way through. So I think don't get stopped when something goes wrong and don't make it mean anything. Just trust that it'll flow like that, and the up will come. I'm afraid the down will come, but it's like life, isn't it?
Yes. Nothing is permanent is what I'm hearing there. That when you're down in the dumps, it's going to come round eventually. You're not going to stay there. Yeah. And you can keep creating it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can keep creating it. And I think that's the great example you've given us, is how you've kept creating as this year has gone on. Now, I just want to flag that we've got some comments here, which is lovely. So Claire Bloomfield, hello, Claire, all the way from Australia, unless you're in the UK at the moment, saying 2 awesome women. So thank you very much. I'll take that, Claire, and I hope you'll take it, Elaine, as well. And Olga has got a question for you. Olga Petronenko has a question for you. Will you be adding new styles to your vintage collections? She wants to know.
Maybe. When I add new styles, there's one particular style, the Dorothy, which Olga already has one, that whenever I add new styles, I sell many more Dorothys than the other new styles. So I think there's a lazy part of me that, gosh, create a whole new style when everyone's still going to end up preferring this one. So that's why I'm afraid I say maybe.
Well, that's your brand leader, your Dorothy dress, but there may still be scope for others. I just want to acknowledge that Claire is indeed watching from Australia. Wow. So hello, Claire, all the way down under. That's incredible. It must be the middle of the night where you are.
No, it's about 10:30, I think, if she's on the East Coast.
Right. Oh, well, lovely to have you join us. Lovely to have all of you join us today, and lovely to have had you join us as well, Elaine. It's been really, really inspiring to hear your journey over the last year, and I'm sure you're going to inspire a lot of other people who've watched this today and are going to watch it in catch up as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great.
And I'd like to say that brings us to a close for today's Lessons in Leadership. Next week, I'm away on holiday, actually going to go in a cottage in North Yorkshire. So I won't be here to do a live session, but I will be back the week after with Jodie Goldsworthy, who's our guest, who unfortunately we got cancelled out by technical issues. So she's returning to join us on the 23rd of April. I look forward to seeing you at 12 noon then. Thank you so much, everyone. And thanks again, Elaine.
Pleasure.